Okay, everybody, welcome to a very special video review. This is one of the most spectacular pieces or statues I own, and that's saying a lot. So, unfortunately, I can't really talk about who produced it, who sculpted it, anything about this, the origins of this piece. And again, normally I give credit to all the creative forces, the creative people, the creative minds behind a work of art like this. But the person involved has kindly asked not to have his name propagated for a variety of reasons. The most common of which is that this thing is so just amazing. There's like no words to describe what this thing is like, that essentially, he would be flooded with PMs and people asking to join the group or asking him how to buy this, and he just can't because this thing is long sold out. So I respect his wishes and just sort of do the best I can to give some idea of how beautiful and just phenomenal this thing really is. So here we go. Obviously, this is the Silver Surfer, Norrin Radd, and he was basically a very seminal character in the Fantastic Four. He's the Herald of Galactus, and I believe was first introduced in conflict with the Fantastic Four. So, just a very brief, people who know him don't need this, but just a very brief history behind him. Galactus is sort of this amazing multiverse spanning power, and what Galactus does is he goes around, he basically destroys planets, he eats planets for their energy, and he has heralds called the Heralds of Galactus that he sends forth to sort of scope out potential worlds for him to destroy. And the Silver Surfer is one of his heralds. And so what he does is he basically gets on this, surfboard, essentially. That's how he travels. And he basically goes through space, traveling through space like a star. And he's just basically looking for worlds for Galactus to destroy. He's a herald. And this is capturing, essentially, the Silver Surfer going through the depths of space. First of all, this figure is completely, utterly, overwhelmingly massive. It's over 50 pounds, and most of that weight is the base. It's huge. I'm gonna just kind of touch the surfboard with my fingers to get an idea how big this is. And where to start with this piece. First of all, the Silver Surfer himself and the surfboard are chromed. Of the 50 to 60 odd pieces created, I think only 2 were painted. Everything else was chromed. The Silver Surfer, because of kind of the way he's drawn in the comics, because of his power set, statues depicting him are typically silver. Now, chroming a statue, as I've discussed in multiple reviews in the past, is an extraordinarily difficult process. We're not talking chrome paint, which some people maybe think of. We're talking actual electroplating chrome, and that's a process that's often used in automotive work. And to do it on a statue is really, really difficult to do well. I would say impossible. It's really easy to scratch it, really easy to have imperfections. If there's any dust, that's in the ambient air, it's going to show up as a little dot or imperfection, which, by the way, this piece does have, especially on the surfboard, which is a very long, big, huge thing. You're going to have little tiny blemishes and dots here or there where probably dust settled and they chromed over it. And that's okay, because guess what? They're making these statues in regular factories. You're not doing a vacuum electroplating like in a car, or else this thing would be essentially $10,000. So you have to forgive some of that. But overall, looking at the piece, it's still pretty amazing quality control. to not have more blemishes or more, more imperfections. Overall, the effect is absolutely stunning. And there are no retail or licensed versions of the Silver Surfer that's electroplated like this. Now, you have various kits. The most famous one is the Bushi Silver Surfer, which then you buy the kit, which I think initially just didn't cost too much, but now it can run for $3,000-$4,000, which in my opinion is completely ridiculous for just a kit. And then you pay more to have it custom chromed by these chroming companies. You can also have various regularly licensed Silver Surfer statues, which then you then chrome separately, in other words, customizing it. But this is, again, completely chromed, and they did a fabulous job doing it. And so he's shiny, he's beautiful, he's amazing. So there's the chrome aspect. The second thing is the pose. He looks so graceful, like, he's surfing like the Silver Surfer, but doing it in a way where you can absolutely almost feel the motion in his body, that he's just sort of gracefully standing on the surfboard. You can almost see the surfboard hurtling through space at the speed of light, and him just sort of on it. And then one hand, there's a swap out hand, by the way, which, I put away because I love this look a lot more. And the other hand is just sort of dragging behind him. I don't know whether, this particular effect right here, which is clear, is supposed to be, a weapon, or whether his hand is just basically skimming the stars, and you can kind of see, the trail of stardust or light that he's creating as he's going through the universe. But whatever it is, it's gorgeous. And when you look at that pose, it's so natural and so reminiscent of a real surfer, but a surfer doing something completely unique, which is going through not, the water, but going through essentially space. He feels, again, completely natural and completely smooth, very graceful. It's the best pose of the Silver Surfer I've ever seen in action. And, all due respect to the Bushi version, which I've seen both chromed and painted. I like it, but I don't love the Bushi version because he seems a little bit too flamboyant. The feet are on there, he's bending backwards, his arms are out. It looks like a surfer in a surfing competition, almost kind of showing off. And it doesn't quite strike me as the essence of Norrin Radd, as the essence of the Silver Surfer in flight. I have a hard time seeing him doing that pose that the Bushi kit has him in, going through, again, the galaxies. This, to me, is more perfect representation of his character. The arms out, going through, and again, I love the left hand trailing this light behind him. So that's him from this view. Normally, by the way, I would have this guy on a turntable, but look at him. He's essentially 3 feet long. This is quarter scale, beyond gigantic. And this base is so huge from here to here. There's no turntable big enough to put him on. You can even see the light reflecting off of the surfboard into my phone camera. So again, just amazing work. So what is this? I think this is basically a black hole. It's either reminiscent of space itself, or I think what it is it's him shooting out of a black hole. So you can kind of see the tendrils of that black hole as he's punching out on his surfboard. And this thing is massive. I'm gonna take a look here from this view. You get to see what that's like. And then from behind, you can see how thick this is. All the stuff. And again, it's sculpted so amazingly beautifully. It feels like organic. It feels like actually liquid. And so, this is almost like what the perfect Venom tentacles would look like, except again, we're looking at black hole, but kind of moving the thing aside. And of course, looking at the Silver Surfer from the backside. He's so huge. I apologize. I cannot get every angle because I can't spin him on, a turntable. Like normally I'd be using a turntable like this. even my biggest one, he won't fit on that turntable. I think if I put the turntable I have the Millennium Falcon on, we might have a chance, and maybe I'll try to make a video later on, try to do it, but even that is, I think, too small for this piece. So here you go again. Backing up. Just amazing shots all around. There's no bad angle to look at this piece. And again, just mere words. I know I've spoken a lot of words, but none of them really do justice to this thing. You see him in person, and he is awe-inspiring. And I reserve that for very, very few statues that I have, and I have so many of them. So again, I'm not even a Silver Surfer fan, to be honest, but this thing is so amazing. I had to do that. So I even spilled a little bit of water while doing it. Okay, so anyways, here goes. Here goes. Try to go from here. Try to show you all of that detail up here. So, how do you put this together? It's actually not too complicated. The base is the biggest and heaviest piece. This thing here is magnetized. You just basically gently put it here, it locks in place. The surfboard, there's a slot, a very large slot right here. There's a hole in the surfboard. That hole has to match up with the hole in the base. You slide this surfboard all the way in. I think in some of these pieces, it's a really tight fit, whether it's because the resin expanded or whatnot. And some people have some hard time lining it up. Luckily, I did not have that problem. For me, it was just a matter of angling the surfboard up a little bit, and it slid perfectly and no resistance. The holes line up. They have a very, very long rod in the surfer's foot right here with a peg. It goes right in. I think it might even be magnetized a little bit. It slides right in. Excuse me, it slides right in. He's locked in. Then the arm here connects. Arm here connects. You're done. Okay, so luckily that's how you do it. The base is close to 40 pounds. It's the hugest and the heaviest part of it. He's maybe 10 pounds, pretty light, as you would imagine, to prevent him from leaning or cracking. So the weight is from the black hole and the surfboard, but the Silver Surfer himself is pretty light, and every piece of him, of course, is electroplated chrome. Very, very beautiful. Not painted, but chromed. Okay? Now, while I'm showing you this, it is time to talk about the packaging. The box is very, very big. It's about the same size as a Cinemaquette box. And when you get it in, for those of you who have not yet opened this masterpiece, I know that there are videos out there to show you where to be careful. I'm going to take you through what's going on. So all the different pieces of the Silver Surfer are put in various layers of foam. And you take it layer by layer by layer. There are 8 layers from the bottom all the way to the top. And all those layers are there to keep this gigantic base safe and immobile. And in each layer, different parts of the surfer are going to be spread throughout. The body is in parallel with the base on the side. So you're supposed to rip each layer off little by little by little. You're going to do fine until you get to layer 5. Layer 5 is a challenge because in that layer, you have this foam that essentially extends over 1.5 inches below this piece. And next to this piece, you have the surfer's main body. On the surface, it's going to look impossible to take that layer off without breaking this or without damaging him. And some people, some of the early collectors who got it, they took a knife, they cut the foam apart in order to do it. And even though the video from the factory is showing you how to do it, you see them bending it, it looks like you can do it. But when you're trying to do it, you are terrified of basically cracking this thing in half. And they tell you in the video, do not put too much pressure on this right here. So how do you do it? It's going to be kind of tricky, but what you have to do is you have to somehow get the surfer free, get that body free, and work on one side by bending that foam almost in half. And once he is out on the other side, you'll have more wiggle room to essentially slide that foam this way and then up and out. Really tricky to do. It took me, honestly, a good 10 to 15 minutes. My heart was in my mouth the entire time, but I did do it. Now, if you don't want to go through that, then you're gonna have to take a knife and cut that foam to bits like other people have. Once we get past layer 5, the layers 6, 7, 8 are usually pretty simple. Be careful, this piece right here, I believe is in layer 6, and the other switch out hand here is in layer 7. Most people grab this huge piece right here and they lift with all the foam still attached. If you do that, be sure that the alternate hand does not fall out and break. And be sure this does not fall out and break. You're gonna have to support this with one hand while you take the rest of the foam pieces, the last 2 or 3 layers off at the bottom. It is difficult to do. It took me well over 45 minutes to slowly, carefully do all of that. So despite the fact that this comes in very few pieces and comes together pretty easily, the actual packaging and trying to remove the packaging is extremely challenging. You want to take your time and do it carefully because you don't want to break this. And that's all I can offer you in terms of advice on how to unpackage that. But again, the main challenge is sliding the surfboard deep enough in here so that the hole for the foot lines up with a deeper hole in the base and everything lines up perfectly. So anyways, I've gone on enough. I have to clean up some of the spilled water that I created gushing about this piece. But yeah, there's not much to say other than this is just completely absurd and completely amazing. I have no idea where I'm gonna put him. I may have to break down a Millennium Falcon or 2 just to create the space to display him. But this is definitely one of the most amazing things I've ever owned. And I just hope I can find a place to display him properly. But this is a masterpiece. It's like a high watermark in terms of what a statue can be. It truly is an amazing work of art. Just the integration of everything with the chrome, the pose, the black hole, again, this effect right here, it's just amazing. And for those of you who are lucky enough to get one, you are a member of a very, very select group. And it's going to be very, very difficult to procure one of these guys. Number one, because he's just so spectacular, very few people are going to want to sell him. And number 2, trying to ship him and trying to repackage him would be a nightmare. I mean, I know how to do it. I took pictures and video of it, and even I would not want to replace. I can't even imagine doing that. That's crazy. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed that. It's a very, very special piece. I don't know how many videos there are. I think there's one guy in Europe. I know him pretty well. I think he's going to put up a video of this. But that might be only him and me. I don't know. There's not going to be too many people of the 50 odd who own this who's going to be willing to put a video up. So again, not many of these out there. I hope you enjoy it. I hope I gave you some shots. The only shot I couldn't give you really well is of his back. And maybe I'll create another YouTube video later on if I can find a turntable big enough to put this beast on. I'll try to create another smaller video just to show all sides. But I think from here, I've shown most of what's good. And this is kind of how he's displayed. Kind of the best way, the best angle of displaying him, showing off everything. But as you move around, you can get an idea of how long and amazing this thing is. Okay, guys. Again, until next time, take care.